can work with time. I hope you can hear me clearly. All right, okay, that's good. Thank you. Okay, I want to welcome everyone to today's panel, the Peace Manifesto 2025 panel with the theme Reclaiming Humanity, Promoting a Peace Manifesto for a Divided World. And we all have uh, panelists who are ready. We have a senior panel and we have a youth panel. And to say that we have experts in our midst, and today we're going to really digest the theme and we see how we can be able to, promote the Peace Manifesto. And today I'll be moderating the session. My name is Rina Ogogo, and I'm sending you all the greetings, the love, warm hugs from Nigeria. And also, I want to welcome you all to this panel and to say that we have attendees from across the continent, um, Europe, Latin America, name it. And so this is really a rich panel. So we're going to share perspective, we're going to share insight, and we're going to learn one or two things. And to say that this is really going to be a very good one. So have your pen just in case you want to write down. And also after the panel, the first panel and the second panel, we're going to have time for questions as well. So please just note down your question that you might have during the panel. So we'll be able to attend to them later after the discussion. And also to say that this panel is put together to commemorate the International Day of Peace, which we are doing as peace builders and also promoting the Peace Manifesto that has been designed to see how we can bridge a culture of violence and conflict and see how we can promote a culture of peace. And to say that the Peace Manifesto is of two types, where we have those that educators could use in classroom, among youth, and also war activists. And war activists can also promote the Peace Manifesto. Once again, I want to welcome you all. So just to go quickly into the panel, we don't have much time, so we can have enough time to discuss. I'm going to be introducing our first panel. So please, when I introduce them, I want to see your emojis up with a round of applause. I know I cannot hear you clap, but I want you to, applaud them and appreciate them. So we have for our senior panel, we have Prof. David Adams, and we have Professor Alicia Kambazudo. Please put your hands. Yes, I can see your hands now. Wow. Thank you so much. And I'm just going to do a quick introduction. David Adams is an American peace activist, scientist, scholar, writer, and journalist. As a professor at Wesleyan University, he ran a brain research laboratory and published many scientific articles. Adams then served at UNESCO, where he worked on the Culture of Peace initiative that eventually led to the International Year for the Culture of Peace. Please, I want to see you applaud. I want to see you applauding. Hope you're excited to be here because we are all excited because we are promoters of peace. Thank you. I can see your emoji. Thank you, everyone. And also we have our second panelist, and quickly, I'll take an introduction. Professor Alicia Cambazudo is an Argentinian Italian educator with over 30 years of experience in peace, citizenship, and human rights education across Latin America, the US, Europe, North Africa, and South Korea. She worked in Colombia for 7 years with international bodies, NGOs, government, and universities on peace, conflict resolution, and reconciliation. A former vice president of the International Peace Bureau, IPB, and Latin American coordinator of GAMIP, Global Alliance for Ministry and Infrastructures for Peace. She's currently active with Teacher for Peace, IPRA, the Council of Europe, War Beyond War, Educapas Colombia, and the Latin American. And also she's a founding member of the Peace Manifesto 2025 team. So please, let's put our hands together. It's so good to have experts here with us today. And the purpose of this manifesto that we are having, the panel, is for us to be able to discuss with what we have as the team, Reclaiming Humanity. We know that the world is faced with lot of challenges, conflicts, far and near. Even in my country, we face, insecurity. So we've heard this, we've seen this, we've experienced this. Some of us have had firsthand, experiences with these. And today we want to know how we can reclaim humanity, promoting the Peace Manifesto in today's divided world. And today we have our panelists, which I've introduced them already. And I'm just going to go quickly into the questions that we have to see how can be able to, to discuss and find insight, gain knowledge on how we as peace builders and promoters can be able to, champion a culture of peace. And quickly, I want to welcome Dada Evelyn and Mr. Gordon for joining. Thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you here. And to others that are just attending the panel, thank you so much. We are glad to have you today. So my first question will be going to Prof. David. Thank you, Nawal, for that. And yes, David is a founding member of the Peace Manifesto. Like, in Nigeria, there's something that would say, like, is the head, is championing this cause because he's a lover of peace. And my first question to you, David, is what is the Peace Manifesto in this time of a divided world full of wars, crisis, and why is it important as a blueprint for building a lasting culture of peace? Thank you.
Okay, may I begin?
Yes.
Thank you for this very interesting question, winner. Yes, we are in a divided world full of problems, and it's important that we have a blueprint for a new world, which is a culture of peace. Actually, that blueprint already exists. We made it when I was at UNESCO in the year 2000. And when we had the United Nations International Year for the Culture of Peace, and I was in charge of the team to develop this international year. We wrote a blueprint at that time for a culture of peace and sent it to the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1999, and it was adopted. It was opposed by all the big powers with their nuclear weapons, but it was supported by all the rest of the world, and so it passed. And it's called the Declaration and Program of Action on a Culture of Peace. And the Program of Action, it has 8 action areas to develop a culture of peace instead of the culture of war. And they are education for peace, sustainable, equitable development, human rights, free flow of information, equality of women, disarmament, and tolerance and solidarity with an international understanding. Because these are all to change from the culture of war to a culture of peace. So the blueprint exists, but this blueprint is ignored by all of the major countries of the world, and you don't hear about it. In fact, when it was adopted, because the big countries were opposed to it, they forbid that any money can be spent for the United Nations for its dissemination. So it's up to the civil society of the world to disseminate it, because the governments are forbidden to do so, and the United Nations forbids to spend any money to disseminate it. That shows you that we're in a conflictual time when the big nation states of the world are responsible for war, and the people need to take charge of our future. Is this clear so far?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in the year 2000, to disseminate it to the civil society, we developed the Manifesto 2000, where people pledged to make a culture of peace in their daily lives. And that was signed by 75 million people which is 1% of the planet Earth. But it was so successful that the big governments came into UNESCO and shut it down so that it stopped. So now we think we need to go back to have a peace manifesto which is adopted throughout the world by the civil society. We cannot expect help from the governments of the United Nations, although we could ask for it. But this time the manifesto is very, very simple. It simply says, I'm sick and tired of the culture of war. I support the culture of peace, and I will continue to support it on social media. And so we are hoping that people will use social media to continue to broadcast the images that we put on our social media sites, such as Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, etc., and so that there will be a viral effect and people around the world will become conscious that there is a culture of peace, and then they can go to the UN blueprint. And even if the countries are not putting the blueprint into practice, the people can take the blueprint adopted by the United Nations and put it into practice. Now, who is going to do this? We have it's a very small team, and we need lots of partners. I've all long since believed that cities can be of great help because cities do not have a culture of war. Countries have the culture of war, but cities do not have armies. They do not have walls, etc. And but I keep trying to get cities to develop this, and so far we have not gone very far. Well, there are two other partners that we can have that are very important. One are the anti-war movements, and the other is educators. I will talk about the anti-war movements because Alicia will talk about the educators. For the anti-war movements, in an anti-war movement, well, first of all, we can expect the anti-war movements to grow in the next few years. Why do I say this? Because I did a study, which is published, called The History of the American Peace Movements. And I could show that every time there was a big peace movement in the United States, it was because there was a threat of war, a war or a threat of war, and the peace movement grew. The more the threat, the more the people joined the peace movement. It's a kind of what you call a dialectic. When things get bad, people who normally don't do anything become active. So as the culture of war continues, and we have it in Gaza, we have it in Ukraine, we have it in Sudan. Trump just said he would make war on Venezuela, etc. Where we have the more and more threats and more wars, there will be more and more people who join anti-war movements to oppose this. And already there have been big, big demonstrations in Australia and England and etc. against the war of Israel versus Palestine. So we can expect the anti-war movements to grow. We have provided on our website, which is called activatingpeace.org, and I'll put this in the chat, activatingpeace.org. We have a poster that can be printed by anti-war movements to hand out at their events or their manifestations so that people can do this afterwards as a follow-up to any actions for the anti-war movement. And finally, I'll close by saying we're seeking new partners to work with us. And one of the new partners that has agreed to work with us is the International Peace Bureau, which has a Nobel Peace Prize from the year 1910 and has about 20 different organizations that are members. And so we'll be working with them and all of these organizations to disseminate the Manifesto 2000. Well, the next question then is educators, so I leave that for Alicia.
All right. Thank you so much, David, for that. Let's applaud. Let's show the reactions. Thank you so much. That was really apt and very informative. And I can say that what the Peace Manifesto is all about is really a collective action. Is really people accepting, having the consciousness that we need a culture of peace. We are tired of the culture of violence. We are tired of the culture of war, and we all need to embrace a culture of peace. So it starts by, having this in our daily living, adopting it in what we do, our speak in our everyday life. So it starts by just that simple action. And we all here can be, that ambassador for the Peace Manifesto to see that we achieve the world we all want to, in this divided world, promoting peace. Thank you so much for that again, Adams. So we're going to go to our second panelist, Professor Alicia. So quickly, we're just going to talk on the education part. David made mention of, the anti-war, and just, with few minutes before I ask the next question, what about the education aspect of the Peace Manifesto? Thank you.
Thank you, Winner. Thank you, David. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for all the people hearing here. I'm very glad to be part of this panel and particularly to be part of this great Manifesto 2025 team. As an educator for peace, conflict resolution, and human rights, it was a honor to be invited to start working on the peace education area of this team. In 2000, when we received the manifesto that David had mentioned, it was for us a great help for starting in a systematic way the peace education in all the world. Before 2000, we were working in isolated themes. So the educators in all the world, even me, that I am part of Teachers for Peace Association, and very many associations like IPRA working in education, we are divided in different themes. So we educate or we teach about human rights, we teach about wars, we teach about gender, we teach about the rights of the children, we teach about peace. But we never made an integral vision of it. That is why the resolution, the United Nations resolution 243/53 and the manifesto gives us the possibility to gather all the things that were in a way spread in our curricular design. So educators from 2000 have a great document and a great support from the UNESCO, and particularly the work of General Secretary Federico Mayor Zaragoza and the coordinator of the UNESCO year, David Adams, when I met him for the first time, in order to work these documents as a didactic resource. But these resources have now 25 years old. And we have very important things that it's said there, but there are important things that they are not so clear or at least updated. So the new Manifesto 2025 that we are working now, in a way, makes these lacks visible, and then we work on it. I want to talk about the important issue to use and to apply the manifesto as a resource in teaching, but not only in formal teaching, that is to say, in schools, institutes, research institutes and centers and universities, but to teach it and to work with it in the non-formal education. I mean, the education in the fields, in the communities, in the families, in the cultural centers, of course, in the virtual issues, and of course, by all the websites that we have today. Today, the world of the webs and the world of the virtual is very different than in the 2000. So that is why we appeal and we work on a good web, in good activities and interesting offers, so teachers can pick from our web and use all the materials that we are attaching there. David Adams is personally working on putting all the materials, even what that materials that you can use, and then you send to us, so we have also live activities for teachers. the role of education in spreading the manifesto is as important as the manifesto itself. There is no use to have a good document. We have to spread it. We have to teach. We have to instruct on it. We have to ask teachers to take action. It is not also enough to talk in class, to read the document, to make activities over it. It is important to use the manifesto as a platform of action. That is the main goal of the manifesto, in order to make civil society and academics and teachers and educators and a society as a whole as actors, as active citizens that work for peace. Peace is not a dream. It is not a hope. It is a reality. We have to work for it. So a good document, we think, as the 2025 Peace Manifesto, gives you a tool, a resource, an instrument for going ahead. Peace is waiting for us, but we have to build peace, to create peace, to talk about peace, and certainly to deconstruct the culture of violence and construct a culture of peace everywhere. This is a call for all the society, but particularly for educators in all the levels, university, post-university experts, educators at elementary schools, educators at kindergarten schools, social leaders, youth leaders, and youth students, and of course, youth and children of all the world. Come on, be part of our team, and welcome to all of you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof. Alicia, for that. That was really very apt to say that peace education is non-negotiable. It is everybody's responsibility to promote in the family, among your friends, in schools. We need to adopt the informal and formal approach to see that, we educate ourselves, sensitize ourselves about the culture of war and also the culture of peace that we all need to embrace. Thank you so much for that. And to still ask my second question that is very relative to the response you just gave now, how can international organizations and government integrate the Peace Manifesto into peace building framework?
Is this a question for me, winner? Or
yes, for you.
First, yes. And then
yes,
me?
Yes. Okay.
Can you repeat it, please?
Okay, let me repeat the question. Okay, so I say with this that we've spoken, the importance of the Peace Manifesto, the blueprints that we have, how it is necessary for educators, even anti-war and all that. How can international organization and government integrate such a manifesto, like the Peace Manifesto, into peace building frameworks?
Are you going to answer, David?
You're muted.
I think it is for you, yeah.
Okay, you know that education as a tool is a reality for all societies, but very many times it is not a reality for political leaders. So the issue have to be in the hands of the society, but it's also have to be in the agendas of the politics. And not only the local authorities, that certainly they are the best and they are the first, David mentioned that they take the manifesto ideas. Also the national leaders, and particularly the international leaders. Today, we have a lack I would say, of wisdom and understanding that peace is a must. And so that is why world is covered in a way with cultural violence. But this is a responsibility that it have to be shared by civil society and governments. Not only at national level. It is true that there are particularly certain nations that they look more aggressive to the others. It is true that the day of today, the world of today, is very confusing for the students and for the people in the society. They think that all is violence, that they prevail, which is true in a certain way, and there is no hope. There is no exit, that they don't know what to do. So here is the importance of the role of education. I'm going to use a Brazilian name, the process of conscientization, conscientização in Portuguese, that is the word that the very, very respected master educator Paulo Freire from Brazil and known everywhere used. The conscientization process in English, that it is translated from Portuguese, is a process that the people see the reality, observe what is happening, reflect on what is happening, and takes action. So that is the deal of the manifesto. So we have to open our eyes to reflect about what we are doing. This is reflection step is absolutely a must. And then to plan actions over that reflection. So the 3 steps are part of an educative process that have to be done by educators and by governments. When the governments failed on that, when the governments are not interested in opening the eyes of their population, on the opposite, they try to blind it, to send fake news, fake information, when they try to distort the reality, making other kind of discussions, then the society and the population goes to a very confusing moment. That is what is happening now. So the role of educating, of clearing, explaining what is happening, for asking the people not only to see the television news, not only to be horrorized because of the children of Gaza or the Ukrainian war, but to think what that means in the world of today, that it is the death against the life, and we are for life, all of us. The manifesto is for life, for hope, for action, for understanding. So go ahead with that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Alicia. The manifesto is for life, is for action, and is for hope. That was very keen. And I hope that we can still be able to pass this message to our government, because we need the government's effort as well to see how we as citizens, how we as individuals, how we as even the humanity can be able to, embrace a culture of peace, and to say that no one should be left behind. The civil society, collaboration is key. The government is important, international organization as well. This is like a collaborative action. And that is what the Peace Manifesto stands for hope, for life, for peace, and for sustainability. Thank you so much for that, Alicia. So quickly, we're going to have Miriam. I don't know if Miriam is ready for us. So we can have the video Oh, Miriam, you're muted. Okay, she's sharing already. Okay, thank you, Miriam.
I'm sick and tired of the culture of war.
I give my support to the culture of peace.
And I will keep spreading the word
until peace prevails.
The Peace Manifesto is our promise to spread understanding, unity, and hope in our communities.
This is important because peace is a foundation of life itself.
And I stand on the Peace Manifesto. I believe that peace is a strong foundation for a just society, a place where people can strive, there is tolerance, there is empathy.
We must act now to stop the culture of war before it destroys all human civilization.
Empires fall, yet love remains. Wars rage, yet peace returns. Leaders fade, yet truth remains. Justice calls and hope rises. Gratitude whispers, unity binds, and generosity gives again. These are the eternal values. These are who we are.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for that. Please let's show some reaction. Thank you so much to our senior panelists, Prof. David and Prof. Alicia. Really appreciate your time, and the session was very impactful and very informative. Thank you. And can we see the video? This shows who we are. We must start now, and that is the responsibility of everyone, and that is what the Peace Manifesto stands for. So quickly, we're going to go into our youth panel. So our first panel is over, and it was indeed impactful and very interesting to hear insight from experts with years of experience. And now we're going to have our youth, because we have those who are working in the field of peace and security, educators, and see how youth, myself, and others can be able to promote the Peace Manifesto. And we have three panelists with us that we're going to introduce. They're also part of the Peace Manifesto team. And quickly, I'm going to do a short introduction of all of them. So we have Miriam Castelo from Brazil, founder and executive director of Fabrica dos Sonhos, please pardon me, and the Right to Dream movement to transform dreaming into a human right, and SDG, the Project for a Culture of Peace, that range from entrepreneur education and income generation to reducing gender-based violence, international facilitator, passionate about developing communities and individuals and promoting systemic changes through participatory leadership and generative strategies. So good to have you, Miriam. Miriam is part of the panel, and she's the one that showed the video. So please show some love. I wanted to applaud Miriam. Thank you so much. She's a great person, Thank you. It's great to have you. And we have Nawal Amjad. I hope I got that correctly, Nawal. He's a thought leader on authentic leadership and political sciences from the University of London, LSE, and LJMU UK. She has been the youth ambassador for UNDP Pakistan and a fellow for YECAP, UNDP Asia Pacific. In 2022, she was chosen as one of 50 global youth leaders by UNESCO, and subsequently as one of the 25 regional leaders of South Asia by UNESCO APCEIU in 2024. She's a fellow at Academic Leaders Innovation Forum affiliated with UCL Institute of Education. It's so good to have you now. Thank you so much for joining us. Please let's, give that reaction. Thank you so much. So we have our final panelist. We have Oluwatosin Samuel Ojo. He's a Nigerian peace advocate, conflict analyst, and youth coordinator for the Global Alliance for Ministries and Infrastructure for Peace, GAMIF, a graduate of Peace and Conflict Studies from Federal University of Ekiti. He has trained with the United States Institute of Peace, Amnesty International, AGPI, and YALI, using his leadership experience to empower youth advance human rights, and foster lasting peace, and is popularly known as Mr. Peace. So good to have you all here. And you can see that we have experts as well in their field who are here with us, and are going to hear their insights and hear, the ideas, the innovative ideas, because when youth are gathered, they have great ideas to share. So my first question will be going to Miriam. I hope she's here and not muted. So quickly, we'll also have time. So please, if you have questions after the panel, we're going to have time to take questions. So you could drop your questions in the chat box. I'll take that later or after the panel. We're going to have like this is okay. I'm seeing some chat already. We're going to have time to ask you to say your question. So please, you can write down your question in the chat box and we'll take it later. Thank you. So my question is to Miriam. So we are here to promote the Peace Manifesto that is very important. Peace Manifesto 2025, that is a collective action for all of us. And my question to Miriam is, how can young people bridge divides when global leaders seem stuck in circles of conflict? Over to you, Miriam. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miriam Castelo. I'm from Brazil, as Winner said. I'm from São Lourenço, Minas Gerais, and I'm very honored to be here. We are in the 21st century, though, and we still have wars, and this makes my heart cry. When global leaders seem stuck in cycles of conflict, young people can bridge divides in ways that are fresh, creative, and deeply human. We can bridge connections. We don't carry the same weight of historical rivalries, and that gives us the freedom to imagine new ways of relating. We can create spaces of dialogue that cross cultures, religions, and ideologies, not only in high-level conference, but in our communities, our schools, and even online, as Professor David and also Professor Alicia said. But dialogue is only one part of the answer. We also need to be in the places where decisions are made. Young people can and must occupy decision-making spaces. And we must question how those spaces are designed. When power is concentrated in the hands of nations alone, as Dr. David Adams said, competition and war are incentivized. If more decision-making happened at the level of states, cities, and communities, power would be shared more broadly, making peace more possible and war less attractive. Another way that we could do is what we do every day. Activism, entrepreneurship, and social innovation are not only tools of expression or income, they are also acts to cultivate peace. Every time we tell a story through art or build a business that uplifts communities, we are proving that collaboration and creativity are stronger than destruction. And here is something crucial. By building narratives, we also need to dream the future we want to create. This is what I've learned in the field of future literacy. In future literacy, war is something that doesn't exist. But if we only recycle the stories, if we spread the capacity to imagine futures of peace, justice, and cooperation, and act for those dreams, we can make it real. So I learned also with Dr. Adams that war is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies a culture of war. Habits, beliefs, institutions that normalize violence. And the same is for peace. If we want lasting peace, we must cultivate a culture of peace. And here's the challenge. If you seek online in Google for war, you'll find a clear, concrete image, tanks, bombs, soldiers. We know what war looks like, but if you search for peace, the images are vague, abstract, almost dreamy. That tells us something. As humanity, we still don't fully know what peace is. We are still learning how to live in a culture of peace. And this is where young people come in. We can write new narratives where peace is not an absence of war, but a presence of justice, empathy, and shared responsibility for our planet. We can give peace images, practices, and institutions as concrete as those we already have for war. So when leaders are stuck, youth can bridge divides by imagining boldly, acting locally, leading globally, and most importantly, by learning and teaching what peace really means. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for that. Please let's show the reaction. I want to see your eyes. Thank you so much. That was very apt and profound. It's key that young people also have their own voice, and it comes where we are ready to also, give our own views. We cannot just, keep emphasizing about how young people are very important to promote a culture of peace. And you really, it's the nail on the wall that dialogue is very key and we're open to new narrative, and this we can be able to give to our global leaders. They should just give us the opportunity. That is what we are looking for, and this is how the peace manifesto comes in for us to promote and show that we can be champions and promoters of peace. Thank you so much, Miriam, for that. And next question, we're going to Samuel, Mr. Peace, and quickly I'll just read the question. So please, if you have, yes, 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 she have, and she spoke. Our baby spoke. Our peace baby spoke to us when Miriam was speaking. All right. So, Samuel, I'm going to ask you. So, social media. It's we already know that the world is a digital place already. Um, we know the use of social media very key. So my question to you is, social media often fuels division, but also mobilizes peace movement. How can youth leverage technology for peace advocacy instead of polarization? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Samuel, known as Mr. Peace. I'm from Nigeria. Good evening to everyone, and I'm very delighted to be among this evening. So this is a very important question because social media today is one of the strongest forces that shape our society. If we should remember what Jagaton said, he reminded us that violence is not only physical, it can also be structural and cultural, such as hate speech, disinformation, or stereotype. We see this happening online every day around us. Is what we watch every day on our social media handles, TikTok, Instagram, and some other medias that we handle. Platform that should connect people sometimes misused to spread hostility, fake news, and diverse ideology. This is what we call polarization when groups are pushed into extreme position or versus or us versus them. It affects solidarity. And also, if we choose to use it differently, social media can become a bridge for peace, justice, and solidarity. It is like a double-edged sword, which is destructive in nature when misused, but transformative in nature when used wisely. There are many inspiring examples around the world of how young people have used technology for peace. In Nigeria, for example, few years back during NSAS protest, youth used Twitter, Instagram not only to demand justice, but also to organize food, medical care, and legal aid. This showed that technology can save lives when rooted in compassion. For example, in Colombia during the peace process between the government and the FARC rebels, youth-led organizations used online campaigns like Peace to the Streets to mobilize citizens to support of reconciliation, truth-telling, and community healing. In Canada, for example, also indigenous youth have used hashtags such as and I do know more to advocate for indigenous rights, environmental justice, and reconciliation, proving that digital digital platform can challenge centuries of exclusion. These examples remind us of Nelson Mandela's wisdom. He said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Today, digital literacy is part of the education, yes. Young people must learn how to question information, verify sources, and share truth rather than lies. Gandhi also taught us that he taught us about ahimsa, which means non-violence nature. In this digital age, it means that our word online should be non-violent. We should promote peace, respect, unity in dialogue, and instead of insult and hate. Peace scholars like Elias Bonding also emphasize that peace culture starts daily by choices. We have the right to determine whether we are for conflict or we are for peace. So we can use our social media handles to promote unity, to promote solidarity, instead of us, misunderstanding words or, going into violence communication. I believe we can leverage technology for peace in three ways. Number one, we can promote truth by countering fake news with honest human stories that highlight dignity and resilience. For instance, youth in Ukraine have used digital storytelling to share their live realities, challenging stereotypes about their community. We can also make use of creating space or spaces of dialogue. We can use our social media to connect across cultures, religions, and borders. For example, in India and Pakistan, youth people have created online dialogue forums like the one we're currently using to what? To share music, art, personal stories, showing that humanity goes beyond political boundaries. We can also mobilize for positive actions, turning online campaigns into the real world initiatives. For example, during COVID-19 pandemic, young peace builders across Africa launched virtual workshops that support groups to promote mental health, education, and solidarity. As Archbishop Desmond Tutu wisely said, do your little bit of good where you are. It is those little bit of good put together that overwhelm the world, which means that it starts from us. It starts from individual decision, our collective decision to make use of our social medias to promote peace, to promote unity, so that we can have the world a peaceful place for all of us to live. We can also make use of our media for good and to amplify empathy, promote justice, and support dialogue instead of dividing us. Technology can also unite us. In a divided world as we are today, the challenge is not whether social media is powerful. It is how we make use of it. It is how use that power. It is how we use that power to, to frame what is happening today. We can claim the world again by what? By making use of our social media handles to preach about peace, to preach about solidarity,
Okay,
to preach
Samuel, 2 more
about,
minutes extra. Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you. I know we have so much to pour into us. 2 more minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. In summary to what I'm saying, we can use we human of nowadays, let me say youth of nowadays, everyone in general, we can make use of our social media in a constructive manner that de-escalate conflict and promote peace within our society. This is how technology can help us to reclaim our common humanity. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Samuel. Please let's applaud Samuel. Let's give the reaction. That was really, really insightful. And that is why I say we have you who are also experts in the panel. And you believe most of us, we're going to use the whole day, discussing about these issues. And you've actually laid great foundation to tell us that social media is very important. And if we can use it in a collective and constructive way, will be able to use it to promote peace. And also social media can also be a vice, to promote violence. But I tell people that peace begins with you. It begins by you being very conscious of what you're writing. Know that someone else is watching, somebody else is looking at what you're writing. Be conscious of what you're saying. It starts from, little efforts that we do every day. And to say that peace is achievable when we work together. And social media is a strong tool that we can use. And as we have for the youth Peace Manifesto panel, that we can also promote this message, promote a culture of peace on your phones, on your social media, with your friends. It starts by little efforts that we put into it. Thank you so much for that, Samuel. And please let's applaud Samuel still. Thank you so much. We have our last speaker for today. I know Nawa is ready for us. Okay, and after Nawa's session, we're going to have like a short time to just take questions. If you have questions, you can put in the chat box, or you can raise up your hand after the whole session, then we allow you to speak and ask a question. So now, just to, buttress the point that has been said so far, and my question to you is really that how can the principles of the Peace Manifesto be translated into practical actions that align with the UN SCR resolution and hold global leaders accountable? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Winner, for giving me the floor. So I just want to say that we do have some very important watershed resolutions, such as the UN Security Council Resolution 1325 on women, peace and security, 2250 on youth, peace and security, 2419 on peace processes. And I feel that considering that I am representing the youth advisory team here, I think these three resolutions predominantly focus on the youth being the center, the center stakeholder, the linchpin when it comes to governing, regulating, and basically building consensus and becoming a key stakeholder when it comes to peace processes. And, we have to definitely move to a multi-scalar way of approaching the world. Multi-level governance we have to believe in. Multi-level governance is a word that has really been personally exciting me and invigorating me, and also evoking my curiosity since my undergraduate level days. Because when you talk about multi-level governance, you're not talking about one particular actor or agent of change. You're not just talking about states being sovereign, but you're also talking about citizens and civilians and governments and civil society organizations and grassroots stakeholders across the world, lobby groups, media, reminding those states as to how they cannot at all compromise and erode the sovereignty that they have. So it's very important that using media, using the power of social media, specifically, which is what this manifesto tries also embody, we can definitely play a practical part. And there are definitely courses and competitions on peace. I just came across this course, for example, by the World Beyond War on peace writing, and that was very new to me. So I felt that people these days are not being taught how they're supposed to engage when it comes to peace. You had rightfully outlined just a few minutes ago that we have to be very conscious of the kind of wording we use on social media. And as an educator and an SDGs change maker, even earlier this week, I did practically conduct a capacity building session for about 50 students from indigenous parts of the northern region of Pakistan as a debutante activity and pilot project of my capacity building session with this ongoing fellowship that I'm doing with ALIF, which is Academic Leaders Innovation Forum. And primarily in that capacity building session, not only I was trying to promote the Peace Manifesto, but I was trying to teach the students about the linkage and this interwoven interrelationship between global citizenship, education, culture of peace, and of course, the relationship of GCED with history. So historically speaking, and in terms of history, if we look at how even, talking about from my own country's perspective and even broadly, just as even Mr. Peace was rightfully mentioning about this combat that we recently have had between Pakistan and India. And, you name it, what's happening in Gaza and I mean, the list goes on and on. It's very pertinent to be aware of the fact that there are two versions in which we try to regulate and we try to govern the world. One is history and the other is collective history. And history is supposed to be free of prejudices and biases, and it has to be objective and factual and evidence-based. But collective history is something that is replete with propagandas, which is replete with vested and personalized, concentrated elitist interests. And the latter is what has deprived the world of humanity and conscience, and is fine with thousands of children being killed and trucks lying outside the cities or countries, but people still being killed with mass starvation. So just as wonderfully and profoundly Madam Alicia had also outlined, that it's not just about people being killed, but it's about what we are doing to the whole idea and the phenomena of life. And what are we normalizing and naturalizing, and how can we let the word peace be witnessed like that? I mean, that's a very bigger and a much profound and deeper question. So I think through the Peace Manifesto 2025, we're able to ask better questions and we're able to answer them in much better ways. And every weekend when I get together on a very communitarian level with all of us team members, I really learn a lot. So I am very grateful to be here. And I believe that definitely the Security Council and the resolutions have a lot of role to play, but the civil society groups, the youth, and stakeholders across the world on a multi-level governance have a much bigger role to play. And it's not just about ensuring that we have governing spaces open for youth, but when youth or marginalized groups are welcomed in those spaces, we also give them an equal space to then not just do seat warming or provide them filler spaces, but to also be able to deliver and represent on a profound, solid level, so that they are heard and they're seen, and so their practical insights are then somewhat translated into tangible policy outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noel, for that. That was very insightful and, well taught. Thank you. I said that before now that we have you two are experts in their field, and it's really, really very interesting to see that young people have their own innovative. Okay, that Evelyn, I see your hand. I'll give you the mic soon. Thank you. So it's so good that young people have their voices, and you've said it that we just need to be given the spaces to be able to be seen, to be heard, and also ask questions, related to humanity. It's not about, oh yes, we've lost this life, but what are we doing to be able to, mitigate this problem, this humanitarian crisis that we are faced with? And you also made mention of how it's very important, for the social media as well, for us to be able to promote, a culture of peace. And I can say you made mention of something you saw that was very new, like a peace writing. We just need to keep incorporating, promoting these so people can see and understand, because people still don't understand when you say the culture of peace, the culture of war. But with our social media and things that we can do, we can, keep making the emphasis and, lace sensitization on the young people around, for us to be able to achieve these efforts together. Thank you so much for that, Noel. Thank you. It's so good to hear you speak. All right, so I'm going to give the mic to Evelyn. Dada, over to you. So you're muted. She raised her hand. Okay. That's fine.
That was a mistake.
Okay.
I was and I raised my hand instead.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So please let's, give the reactions. Thank you so much, Noah, for that. We can still spare 10 minutes to take questions if you have questions or contribution. Okay, Noah raised the hand. Noah, you want to speak?
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask another point, which I forgot, and I think it was very important, is I think it would probably sound to be very brutal, but I think we also need to start blaming states out in the open on media channels that are responsible for the way the peace concept is being demonized and the way it's been looked at from a very reductionist perspective. Because if you look at civil society campaigns, even on a day-to-day regular basis, irrespective of the scale of global conflicts, what I see in my own country is that peace builders are always looked down upon. They're not taken seriously. And that's where the media has to play a pivotal part. And I also believe that there are a lot of peer reviews that need to be brought about when it comes to independent monitoring bodies for UN resolutions and the implementation part. And I think we do not have that kind of I would say ad hoc basis of really overseeing what is happening in the world. And I think that is very, very important as well. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Noel. Okay. Prof. Alicia, your hand is up. You want to speak? You can go ahead, Prof. Alicia.
Thank you. Thanks for the wonderful, thanks for the wonderful youth team members that we have heard here and today. Thanks for your effort, and also not only for being today, but for being every Saturday in our meetings. I want to comment something that had been mentioned by the three of them, and also by you in your fantastic summaries, Winner. Huh? Really, they are fantastic. We all know what happened with the war industry. So we all know about what politicians do and their business. And also we know that we live in a culture of violence reality and world. But also I want to particularly highlight the effort of all the societies to go ahead besides the war. So it is true that we have a big challenge. It is true that it can be seen that we failed, but it is always also true that the efforts for peace and building culture of peace and the civil society as a great motto for that has always been like that. So it is kind of balance. Yes, we have wars. Yes, we have the war industry. But yes, we have the society struggling from the first moment to the last moment. Yes, we have people in Gaza trying to survive, besides all what we have seen, heard, and experienced in the last years. So the issue that the education is focused on the violence, the education is focused on what is the bad things happening. So that is what we read in the media. That is what we hear in the news. That is what the teacher pointed at school. So we are going to comment the reality, so all the people in the peace education class talk about the war. And that is a big failure. That is our main failure. So peace education lessons and classes are not going to talk about the culture of peace and the wars, etc., etc. We have to talk how we can create peace. And that it had been happening in all the world. And it is why the educators' movements are so strong, not only for culture of peace, but for democracy, for equality, for anti-war, for anti-armamentism. So in a way, culture of peace education is a big bowl where we talk about how to create peace from every spot where we are. So yes, we have war industry, but we have also peace industry. And the peace industry is done and is built by citizens, by good people, by population, by natives from every country, by the black people, the white people, the yellow people, everywhere. So my issue as peace trainer almost in all the world, because I'm working almost in all the world in the last 30 years, is to talk about the peace industry, not war industry. We suffer the war industry, and we enjoyed the peace industry. And that is what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. Alicia. Quickly, there's a question. Oh, I don't know. Let me read that. We know we have plenty of culture for peace. What we need is peace, but we don't have a peace industry for politicians to make money. They make money with the war industry. I think Prof. Alicia have actually answered that. What we need, we know there are industry for war, but we need to promote more of the peace industry, and that is what even citizens are creating, because the war industry does not pay us; it does us more harm, than good. And we have two hands up. Miriam, you can speak quickly.
Yes, I just want to share, if my baby let me, that I'm a co-counselor in my city. So I'm part of the city council. And as a politician, I also, like, Ebert is the one that is holding the chair, like that is in the chair of a politician. He's my husband. And I think if we have more people that are into culture of peace that occupies this space, so we must occupy these spaces so that we have more culture of peace. And I want to share that what makes me want to share more peace is also because of the new generation, like Ayla. When I see her growing, I want her to grow in a world where she can feel free to be who she is, and also without fear and without war. And I'm happy that we are doing this together. And I like Alicia's questions, if peace as an industry, because industry as it is, I think they are already in a way that is very mechanicist. And if it's mechanicist, it's not allowing us to navigate the complexity of the world. And we need more complex systems to solve complex problems. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam, for that. Okay, Dada Evelyn, your hands is up. You can speak now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This time I did put my hand up. And thank you all for your contributions. I guess I would like to state that we also need to be very conscious of nonviolent communication. If we spend our energy on putting things down, we're not going to build peace. So I would really recommend that we focus on nonviolent communication if we truly believe in peace. The other thing I would like to say is that in terms of, I fully agree with Alicia and with others who have talked about the need for the peace industry. And I would like to remind us, something we often forget is that, in fact, the majority of the world lives in peace. We hear about all the violence, but if you take the population at large, the population itself is not supporting the violence. Often they have said wars are instituted usually by between 7 and 10% of the population, which means 90% of the population is in fact living with peace. What we haven't been able to do is to unite all those voices in an effective way. And there is a peace industry. If you look at the global network of institutions, educational, organization, even political, economic, that are supporting peace, there's a peace industry. Again, what we somehow need to do is to find that spark, and maybe it is social media that can unite all these. I was going to say forces, but that's a military term. But I'd like to also just add the Anishinaabe indigenous group in Canada. Their definition of a warrior is the warrior is the person with the biggest heart. They do not have their warriors are not the people with the biggest weapon. So there's a whole philosophy, and we have these philosophies. We need to find a way to unite. Thank you. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dada, for that. I don't know if we have any other question, because we are waiting.
I think David has his hand up.
Okay, all right. Over to you, David. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank everyone who's gone before. I agree with their comments, especially this last one from Evelyn about we need the unity of the many, many people who are already working for peace. I want to make one point which seems very simple, which is that we have had two expressions that we talk about peace during this webinar. One is building a culture of peace, and the other is cultivating a culture of peace. The UNESCO Constitution talks about building a culture of peace. But I worked for some time in Mozambique when I was at UNESCO, and my friends in Mozambique told me, you do not build a culture of peace, you cultivate a culture of peace. And that has stayed with me ever since, because when you cultivate, what you do is you plant seeds. And you don't know when or where these seeds will sprout and grow. And you must know that there are seasons when you cultivate. Sometimes it is winter and nothing grows. But after the winter comes the spring, and then everything grows. So we must be patient and cultivate, plant our seeds, and realize that maybe we are now in the winter, but spring will come and those seeds will sprout. And so we keep planting, and we are patient to find the places where we can plant and it will work.
Thank you so much for that. That was really, that's more like a summary. You know, we keep cultivating, we keep doing what we can do. Even we understand that we are in a divided world, but we can keep doing what we are doing. Okay, Alicia, hand is up. Okay, Prof. Alicia, quickly.
Yeah, I was very glad about
Okay.
the intervention of David, because cultivating is the way to demonstrate that the things grow. And also cultivating means that there are someone that take care of the cultivation. And someone had put seeds, and there are others that take care of that and water the plants and the flowers. Why not flowers as well? And then there are people that take it, and all the people like that in the world. So the issue of talking about the cultivation means a more active participation from the people, from the society, for the simple people, I mean. The boy that buys candies in the corner of my street, the mother, the grandfather, not only the governments. Of course, the governments have to cultivate peace as well, and particularly not to seed arms and drones and rockets in the earth, like in all the world, through the bases. But so they cultivate another kind of cultivation. We are not so stupid not to see that. But our role is other. So the discussion in the manifesto is not about this discussion. The role through the manifesto and with the manifesto and by the manifesto is to work with it and keeping with all the people that work for this peace industry. That is our role, and that is our discussion, and that is what had the humanity been doing while work also happens. So it is a kind of double movement, and it's true, absolutely, what dear David had said. There are time of winter and there are time of spring. Let's work for the spring and the summer, dear fellows.
Thank you, Prof. Alicia, for that. Quickly, I'll just take a comment in the group chat. The peace movement to me, this is by Salem. The peace movement to me has different perspectives, which has brought it to different forms as a culture, but we cannot deny its importance if in everywhere and cultivated. I think we just need to keep doing what we are doing as peace educators, as peace activists, and also we cannot keep dwelling on, oh yes, this is the culture of war. We need to embrace the culture of peace. And that is what the essence of the Peace Manifesto is. We need to keep doing what we can do in our own little effort to see how we can keep, putting our effort. As David has said, we are cultivating and we don't know when it's going to germinate. And, different season, but we know that we're going to touch lives. We're going to touch lives. We're going to change the narrative for a better word. So I don't know if anyone have any other thing to say. This is already, sorry for 20 my time, 20 minutes past, the time. So I don't know if there's any other questions or comments. We call it a day. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Dada Evelyn. All right, please.
I just want to thank you, Winner, for your excellent, excellent facilitation.
Thank you so much, Dada Evelyn. Thank you. I'm grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Thank you for joining in. If you're joining us for the first time, this is the Peace Manifesto team, and we are glad that you're here. I want to appreciate all our panelists for their time, their insight. Indeed, it was an amazing session. We learned a lot. And the youth panel, please, I appreciate you all to say that we youth, we have our voices and we can also, promote peace and be promoters of peace anywhere we are in our region. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We appreciate your time with us, and together we should keep promoting peace. I don't know if anyone have the last word to give until we'll call it a day. Does anyone have a last word to give, like a sentence or a peace quote? Let me hand it over to David. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank.